We are now live.
All right, so, we're back in the committee of conference for the FY24 budget, committee of conference. And we're trying desperately to get organized and close out as many sections as we can before we call it a week. And so we have this very large number, which it's been suggested that we do first, and then we'll feel
very fast,
and
potentially.
and it will give us a good sense of progress, I guess.
Yes.
So let's start, if you would, Madam
Other Chair.
Madam
right?
Other Chair. Madam House Chair.
You'll notice here again, there's a lot of the word Senate on here, so we can go over them, or we can just accept that. And there's only one that has a House proposal, and that is on B509, Education Cannabis After School Grant Program. You see where we're at?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a large leaping assumption that all the others which says the Senate, you're good with, but we'll go back to that if you want me to talk about that.
What, the after-school
Yes, I
language?
can do that right now. or
You
we
have it
can-
in your packets.
We have it in our
packets. E500.1.
Yeah, that's the language part of it. It's got this black with a little bit of purple.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're all
Yeah.
tuned now to colors.
it's all the third one in. After school and summer learning?
Yes, yes. I made some notes on here.
Oh, this deals with your concern that we make sure we're spending.
That
what we
money
have.
to spend,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so, yes.
Because we've talked about this before, and the concern that your Ways and Means Committee would have relative to this. So this is your attempt to deal with that.
Of the language on the back. So what we're trying to do here, when we had a conversation, is just to bring some, if you're
Shall
listening
be in
in.
alignment with actual revenue. That's
Isn't that
novel.
Okay, so we're making an attempt here to make things more, not just sustainable out there, but not so volatile in the world, as well as in exposure to the education fund. So there's a great opportunity for after school, and
Well, I'm a
really
defender
appreciate
of the education fund after today. I was in the minority. In case anybody was listening.
well, I wish I had time now, but we're
So,
keeping up. So in your bill, or in your response, you had put $6 million from the ed fund. And when we sent that over to you, we had after school with a special fund created. Okay. So since working around the special fund, we realized some of the
Somebody just
pros and
did.
cons, yes. And that can wait. But what we proposed here is that what we know is that in 2023, the actuals for the cannabis sales, which I would say in the story is 2.0, right? And there's an estimate for 2024 of 4.2, which is where you move the 6 from. So because there could be that estimate.
Unknown territory.
Unknown estimate,
Are
so
squishy.
therefore it could be squishy.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable for us to put on the table to move $4 million for the after school from what is considered the cannabis revenue. Without the special fund, that's okay. Without the special fund, there's an uncomfortableness about how do we track it? How do we
You
know?
don't need
What
to
is-
convince us.
Okay. And so, all right.
I don't know about the
Sometimes we go on just
When you
for
made
the.
a sale, don't talk yourself.
Right, but anyway, but some people are just hearing it for the first time, and I wanted to make sure that they didn't think that we were going from 6 to 4. It's about setting up so that budget adjustment to then
When we know
true it
what
up,
we
so we
have.
know what we have, and to create less pressure. So
Oh,
that is what this
why don't we
language
then
does.
take this and close it out?
Exactly, and if that's
And
okay.
we'll move that number in the new 509 down to 4 million.
From
Yes,
4
and
million.
I'm assuming the label in the bill for that section,
Yeah.
we want to change, you just want it to be after school. program.
Yes, we really
And
don't.
some after school.
Yes, we don't need to be calling it that. There you go, that is done.
Well, this is language.
We haven't agreed to an additional million.
Well, they're agreeing with us.
Which one?
Well, what
Reach
we're
out.
talking about is we put more money into reach up to support the pilot and the support services.
Yeah, the 323.7 is just your language on switching back to the
That
government
wasn't the money.
construct.
Oh, the
It's not the
construct.
million.
Okay,
So he's worried you were.
It took convincing for me.
Our money that we wanted to
No.
help support. and
It
we
was
thought
the
it was
construct,
complementary
because I
to the
couldn't-
pilot.
I
You
just
got it.
wanted
We
to
didn't
make
think
sure
he
it
was
was,
one, because where we got the money from is certainly a source.
Well,
of-
we haven't actually agreed to the extra million.
No.
no, but
Well, where we got it
we didn't
from.
think it did, but I did wanna make sure that it gets brought up, because if we do the pilot at all the numbers that people have to have a way of getting where they have, like, you know, there's a whole bunch of
They
stuff.
love it, Rich. Don't
Yeah.
talk
What are you
yourself
gonna say?
down.
What happened?
It's over
I-
salaries.
I-
Did you say you already make the sale?
I did, just going back to this cannabis
Okay,
after
go ahead.
school thing, I just wanted to make note that in the current working draft of S56, the childcare bill, that this language is all out. So just so that we're not carrying it in two places anymore.
It'll be totally carried.
In the budget,
Put it in the budget.
yes.
You got that? Fiscal folk? Okay, all right. So now we are,
Where would you like to go next?
well, this is just the,
That's updated?
yeah, this, we don't need to go here then. So, because this is just the tracking.
Just the tracking. Do you want to do these, whatever this is, and then we'll get back to here?
Sure.
The rest of the
Um,
package?
The first is, I have here is the balance reserve unreserved. For the 20 million for the community, Dan,
Oh.
and I think this is, and this is the escrow language, and I know that we had to do something very quickly with the treasurer's
Yes.
office.
Yes.
And that created heartburn for some people, that expediency. And I assume this language is a replacement or to deal with that. Is that correct? The escrow?
Yes.
So, this language got prepared
Mhm.
for us, I think the collective us, by whom, and it's thoroughly vetted, in other words, I just wanna make sure that if we're plopping something in, that this escrow account, that would replace what we did with the treasurers, the treasurer wanted to have, takes care of it. So you wanna explain, Stephanie?
So I don't, I think that the only piece that I would point to is I think we wanna do this in the C section, not in the D. We wanna do it in FY '23, effective on passage. And then I'm assuming that this replaces what's in E 131, or do we keep E 131?
So, yeah, so help me to understand the relationship between those two.
Who did this? Could somebody put their hand up?
Own it?
Where did this come from? Sarah? The administration?
It didn't come from us. Actually,
Well, it must have come
No,
from.
The reserve, the
it came
reserve,
from finance
the
and
top
management.
side
right?
came from finance and management.
Okay,
Is E 131 what is in the bill right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that
And
is.
I think that that got drafted on the House side after that
Mhm.
expedient action. People have had some time to process that. And I think we're replacing what is in the bill right now in E 131 with the recommendation with what's on the top of this page. But we would put it in the C section because we would want it to be effective on passage.
okay. So if I understood you correctly, what's on the bottom here, the E131, is what came over. in
And
the-
what came over from the House and
And
you
we
agreed
agree
with.
with, and we're replacing this with the top section
Yes.
rewrite.
And instead of putting it in D 104, we are gonna put it in C, whatever number's next.
Alright.
Okay, and that's on page 41 of the language, I see, okay.
Because it
Remove
works
and
better
replace.
for the structure to have it be a solid reserve. Sort of, we're taking from the cash reserve,
Yes.
the balance reserve and making it a separate,
Se-
specific
pulling it out.
broadband reserve for middle mile.
Yeah.
And then we will,
Yeah.
the money will come back into the reserve as the need for it is
Because it
reduced.
says that without this deposit on hold,
Yeah.
they,
You can't.
right, so we're definitely good with that. We were good with it before. We just want to make sure that
So we will, and put that in the C. Thank you.
There's two other pieces of paper.
Now, we have what we talked about yesterday, and I guess this is formalizing that discussion.
So it
On
is,
the hospital directed.
we did hear back from AHS, and what's different from what you saw yesterday is just the A section. It is specifying who the parties to this program would be, which is the agency, UVM, and so everything below that is the same as what you saw yesterday.
All right, and this has been reviewed by everyone and.
This, when we shared what we put on the table, and this was the recommendation from the agency, is to add the sub A here.
Mutual agreement, right? Mine would be.
Yeah.
I think we felt if they can pull this off, it would really be great.
It'll be very good for Vermont. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So this is this.
All right, this is VSAC. This is your language on 605.
Is this the latest?
So it is the nearly latest. There's a slight tweak that, so it's the D section.
Yeah.
The Senate had put in, at the recommendation of ESAC, basically the D and E sections, sort of rewrite of the D section and the E section. I think they might have done a few tweaks in the other sections. And the D section, as we drafted it, finance and management flagged a concern with, because VSAC has some past money, making sure that the 7% applies to everything that we ask them to administer. So when we pass money through their direct grant money, the monies that flow through, like basically the Agency of Human Services right now, but they could be getting some money through AOE in our workforce pieces. So making it clear that the past money that hasn't been out the door yet, that the 7% applies to everything, that every program that we are asking them to administer, that we pass grant money through on.
Oh, there's the deal.
So the 7% is, it's not changed, it's just making clear.
The clarity on what it applies to.
What the 7%. So
And then the House did not have the sub-E language in, but you had included the $1 million for the trades, and it was just making, the Senate had added the E. But the one tweak in D that is not in the piece of paper you have in front of you on a single sheet is in the D, they want to say, in this act or otherwise currently or previously appropriated to VSAC or provided to VSAC. So it's appropriated, it's the second appropriated to VSAC for the currently or previously.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the D section on page 65 of the language, and
Yeah.
it was like you took the,
We restructured the first,
so in section D there, you took out the stuff at the beginning, and then it starts with up to 7%, but it sounds like you're putting back some of that first part of the
we
sentence.
completely restructured that first sentence.
Yes. So is 2022
I might have-
coming out?
2022 is coming out.
That was very confusing.
This one here. Yeah.
Okay, so this, but part of that sentence is going back in.
So,
Yes.
And so we need to modify D to say appropriated to VSAC in this act.
So appropriated to VSAC in this act or otherwise currently or previously appropriated to VSAC or provided to VSAC by an agency.
Okay,
Okay.
so appropriated or provided to
Yes.
VSAC, okay. Fine, that's in your package, so you must like it.
I think I threw that one away because I have.
Look, it's already out.
I have two on pensions, and I'm like, that doesn't even sound like pensions, but okay, I'm gonna
Right.
keep up.
Well, the 7%
sounds like-
is a very modest administrative,
It is, in the world that
Yes.
sometimes. we change.
15, right, so that's, all right, now we are down to the last sheet that we've had.
Which I think is gonna look more familiar to you.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
it does, and this, and I understand there's been conversations with your chair of GovOps. And what this does is it's sort of like dispatch, allowing work to be done in advance, legislation making its way through next year, because I don't think it's gonna make it through the House, it's based on what we've heard.
Right.
So, this is what, this would do, was allow the review of the the work and do the report. And we had the 100,000 for this.
So that is in the one-time language, right? This is the 100,000 for the asset study?
Yes. Yeah. And so it's allowing that review to go forward so that that information would be available. We passed the bill, but it's in your GovOps committee and it would be available for their deliberations and information next year, as well as ours, but so allow the work to move forward.
I'm gonna assume they've seen it and I'm gonna be okay with it. I'll just, if there's any issue with our government operations committee, which,
I think Chris has already briefed them.
I've discussed with the chair.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think they've been doing a lot of groundwork to help facilitate our work,
Yes.
which is helpful.
well, this is why we pay for the study, to give us information so we can make good decisions, right?
Yep.
All right, oops, that's gonna go.
So we've gone through that.
I mean, every day I have a new filing system. I need to get a little consistent.
I'm beginning to look like Jim Maslin's place.
Have you seen
His card, you see his
Have
card?
Have you seen his car?
It's never going to be stolen.
You know?
There is a method.
Do you remember when we had the cooler on this place when we were?
Oh, it's like a compost.
Oh, there was one time when he locked his keys in the car and he had to climb through the window to go in and get his keys a couple of years ago. And only he could fit through the window to get into the car.
We're not making fun of you, Representative Maslin. We're appreciating your unique style.
Okay, so now, we ready to go back to the one.
All right, so we kind of toggle. So we're just beginning to get this like back and forth.
Oh, we were down to St. Joseph's Monument
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then this intercollegiate.
and the 250, which we thought, and the collegiate, that's right. And,
There was some language or something.
Did you-
I was gonna go, I talked to the chair of
you
education.
haven't,
We got way late in the conversation and I didn't get to.
Okay.
But I'm happy,
25.
I'm happy to go back,
Thank you.
but yes.
we thought, well, getting back to the blue here, the 117, we thought we could celebrate our 250th, and so we were willing to put in the money on our one-time list. We didn't think the 117 would be the critical difference.
You never know, but so we're good, okay? but
Until we don't know.
Until we don't know. As somebody pointed in our room, which is probably written on some wall, it should be, nothing is decided till everything is decided.
I know, but at some point you have to start,
You have to start making some checks.
and so the intercollegiate,
That was where we left off,
Yeah.
we didn't.
Senator Westman was gonna get some information, so he's still working on that.
oh, okay.
Okay.
I went and talked to the chair of the education.
And did he
We
mention
talked
this?
about two other things and this one kind of slipped.
I just know that it came in and was something, I think the request came through the pro temp's office to continue, finish up that work. Do you remember Andy?
That's all right.
Because
He was chair of education.
That was
great.
Right, he was chair when it was created.
And so we thought, that the whole issue around sexual harm, was, finish that work was a priority.
So you're still gonna check?
I can do that when you need.
Yeah, well,
Just
Just like to know a little bit
Tentatively,
more.
tentatively, that amount is until Representative Westman
In our
comes back
world
with
of,
us.
No, I just think like, you know, at some point the colleges should be funding this themselves,
Right.
which we're funding them anyway, but I'm just.
Right.
I mean, just like, you know, extra.
Read all about
This
it.
is something that they should be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
but it may have been something we created, I'm not sure.
It is something we created and when we
So-
put money in, there was enough money that carried it one time. I think it was for the first 3 years.
But sometimes we create things and then we come back and, realize
And
that
wonder,
sometimes they need to be funded. So we're tentatively, well, this, and Dale, we had, it may have come in after, I don't know if you consider this, with the SASH, and we have two, pilots that are, underway. They had wanted to go much more expansive, and I think it was 2.7 million. And we said, no, we couldn't do that, but we would continue the pilots because there's
These are
Federal money.
Sanders earmark monies. And they are dealing with at-risk housing populations, people with substance use issues. It's essentially sort of it's a conversion of the SASH model that we have in other programs that has been very successful, and looking at a broader population that requires more assistance than really even the traditional SASH model. So they gave testimony in my committee, and the early success of the model is good. Again, it is an ongoing program that, I personally, I mean, we honestly haven't had a chance to talk about it as conferees yet, but I personally have been supportive of it.
And the reason we did one time was because in our communication, they indicated that they were anticipating for future federal funding.
They're hopeful.
Yeah, well, they're anticipating.
Yeah.
Hopefully anticipating.
Yeah, I mean.
So there's one issue with the line item, and in correspondence back from AHS, it may not look like it is a GC matchable item.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, and so it would have an additional cost of the value of the $254 on the general fund
I
side.
have to add the two.
Oh,
I'd go with $254, Stephanie.
Did you say global commitment?
Yeah, we thought it was, when the Senate did it, we thought it was a matchable item, but it's turning out that it's not, so you would have to do 450 general fund.
It's the 450, not 250. that
No,
we
but it's
have
the
to add.
additional.
The additional
That's
amount of
additional.
money, the 195 is accounted for.
It's
It's
a
a federal
254 federal that we're not
Yeah,
getting.
that's global commitment.
Right, so that would be.
450 is global commitment.
So that stays 450, but we'd have to add 254.
Yeah, we won't do it, it'll just become 450 general fund, and the federal funds will go away.
So shall we just hold that, or do you wanna?
I think we should just have a conversation
Okay.
about it. I mean, we are generally positive about that. But,
Yeah.
it's big ticket items or something. So I think we have really had a conversation.
All right, and so we've done, with our agreement on the other, we
Yes.
closed out the 100,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the
Check that.
750, there are positions that the treasurer's office
Oh, yes.
needs to do that
Thank
work.
you.
And Chris is right behind.
We
me.
just heard this bill, and I'm fresh with knowledge on this,
Uh-huh.
with House appropriations just passed. That's
It seems like.
We
it's
told them
already
the money
on.
was in the budget.
And the 750's in the budget, but the
At the moment,
positions are not listed.
Right, okay.
The money's within the 750.
Yes,
And so if I'm getting this right, there was 3 that they needed, but now it's just 2.
No, it's still 3, we have to establish
Still
all 3. They thought they might not use all 3 the first
Oh,
year.
okay.
Just to be clear, Madam Chair, the item on the bottom is repetitive of what you all already agreed to a few days ago. It's just all of these financial positions are on one page.
I see.
so
Okay,
Vermont
so it's
pays-
2.
It's the two at the top,
Yeah.
correct. That's the near-term need that was flagged by the treasurer's office.
Okay.
So we had obviously
Thanks.
accounted for the 750 right
Yes.
past, our budget, but we did. Positions. Yeah.
We weren't too sure where that was gonna go, and that was probably smart, but now we know, and it's off
Okay,
to
so
the
we're.
floor, and so the 2 positions can now be, thank you for getting the, I didn't know the title, so that's good.
Vermont saves.
Yeah, or the 2 titles of the positions.
Oh, okay. So now we're down to,
Good.
Um,
Can I just ask a question? The second one is already in, right? You've already done that.
Correct. Whenever we
That was
untangled that
about-
big knot a couple
Yes.
days ago,
Yes,
that was part of it.
Okay.
It takes about 10 memories here to keep track of all this stuff, but this is a hugely, lot of moving pieces here. All right, so Secretary of State.
Oh,
This,
yeah.
this is an appropriation, and they had asked for the $1 million, and they came, there had a lot of people at our public hearing, remember?
Oh, yes.
Yes, and we are proposing to move that, we have had conversations with the Secretary of State, who has really put an emphasis on civics education, democracy, local government, and access provides that opportunity for people to observe legislative breakfasts, to town, select board meetings, to whatever. And the other advantage is it's been housed at, did you talk to Jim?
I did, I was just seeing. If she-
And public service.
Right.
But in terms of the mission and the work, it seems much more closely aligned. Our Secretary of State thought it was complementary to the work they want to do on civics education. And so it has nothing to do with public safety not getting grants out or the work they're doing. I want to be clear on that. It just seemed like, in light of what the role
Yeah.
Secretary, and we know that there is some capacity maybe with their apps to help underwrite some of the costs.
Right.
So this is our proposal and the reason for it.
And the Secretary of State is welcome to this.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and it feels like a nice home for it.
It does feel.
It seems like it was there, but in terms of the role that public access plays, does seem to be a nice fit and seems complementary to that civics initiative.
I think we're
Sometimes
good.
people forget there's 3 branches of government even.
Oh, they do.
So that's the background on that, and I have talked with the former representative, now Secretary of State, Open Houses. And then we passed a bill on ranked choice voting, and Secretary of State said they needed some money to work with
Yes.
municipalities.
Did we pass that on?
We-
I don't think we've passed it out yet, but the government ops, House Government Operations Chair has come to see me when he wanted to check to make sure. He did not want to send me a bill. Isn't that nice of him to check, to make sure that there was money actually in the budget before he moved it.
This is it right here.
It doesn't have the number on it, though. It'd be nice to, we've been moving a few.
The bill number.
The bill number.
We don't, the numbers are on the other.
Yeah, it's not on here, but at least I was aware of it, he was
Yeah.
aware of it, the bill is moving through. I don't know if it's gonna, where it's at. This is one of those, if this child gets lost, we can claim this ticket.
Right. Or if it doesn't pass, then we'll have
So.
a budget
I'm gonna-
adjustment, you'll have something to play with.
I'm gonna circle it only for my own, to go look at that, right? Where is this bill?
Do you remember the bill numbers?
That was what I was wondering, because I don't
Yeah.
remember the bill.
Yeah.
number.
He knows
got-
it's in the box.
Oh,
You know the
Yes.
number?
Do you know the number?
Oh, forgetting, that's number, yeah.
okay.
We're covered, and we're down on the.
We're down to
1100. This might be a good time to talk about what the Senate Appropriations Committee bills did today on H126 with $150,000. The committee's gonna have, if that bill continues to go forward.
Well, I'm gonna have to put that on our cash register.
Yes.
This is the 30 by 30, and it came over, and there was a lot of controversy, and what counted toward conserved land. An agreement reached in terms of, because the original only took perpetually conserved, and there's a lot of land enrolled in the current use, and so they've worked out what can count toward that goal, and ANR is comfortable. However, the budget, the bill, when you passed it, had 75,000 to VHCB.
Yes.
And ANR came forward and said, look, we have work associated with that as well. And so we had a request from Julie Moore saying that they needed to have funding for a limited service position for 1 year. Because hopefully, again, this is hopeful, because both VHCB and the ANR have submitted an application to American Beautiful Grant, and we could fund the position for the second and third year to support the work.
So they do first year.
First year, and the creation of a position, assuming they needed one created, and did we find the answer to
I have
that?
not found the answer yet.
This is H126, this is at
Oh,
30 by 30,
30,
that
yeah.
we put the 75 in.
And
And they're saying they need another,
ANR is.
ANR saying they need some resources to carry out their
another
responsibility. Well, the cost of a limited service position for
1 year.
1 year. in anticipation that they will get this grant, which they think is a good shot because of the marriage between VHCD and ANR.
So,
We don't know the number or. how
well,
much.
so 150, so they're doing limited service instead of temporary because the person would be
The
staying.
grant.
It'll be a
Grant.
three, yeah, in anticipation that the grant will pick it up for year 2 and 3.
So the bill is in the Senate, has the 150 additional in it,
So
isn't accounted for anywhere yet.
So that's why we're bringing
So
it
we're bringing
up.
it forward, so we'll take this to, that, our
You can have
energy.
that.
You can have that.
Okay, all right.
The previous one is S32 on the ranked choice
Yeah.
voting.
Okay.
S32.
I am pretty sure it's not on our wall.
No, it's not on our.
Yeah,
No,
Ours-
it's still in.
It's kind of being held in regard.
We'll be keeping our wall as clean as we can possibly keep it.
For leverage purposes?
I don't
There's
know.
there's a House election bill in the Senate committee, and there's a Senate election. bill
Oh,
in the
oh,
House.
yeah.
So they're having a conversation?
Negotiations are happening.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, anyway, we're sure that the money, if they ever pass it, which they have until Monday. Well, I don't get to make that decision, I'm just saying. We may end up using the 100,000 in a different way by Tuesday night.
So we've closed out this,
Okay.
right?
Well, we've closed it out because the
Well,
workforce,
I'm
we're
sure.
gonna put through a bigger picture, right?
No, I meant this sheet here. We
The-
haven't gone through both sides.
Yes, on the
Yes.
first sheet.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So now we're on to, oh my goodness.
Oh, is there something there isn't? Am I on the right page? Yep. All right.
Um, So,
You're thinking deep.
no, I'm thinking about what we want to get to next, and we can go to workforce, I guess.
Representative
I've
Schneider's
got-
gonna drive.
But I know you've been,
Yeah,
maybe,
we haven't, I have some stuff, but we haven't actually talked.
okay,
So I think we'll,
want to wait
I think, yeah. We'll have something.
on Monday.
Yeah.
And, yeah, one thing that came in at the Orange Art Bristol is that $2 million grant that went to DCF for the weatherization. Yeah, that was quite a, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, boy, that's kind of a boost toward,
Everything.
in terms of weather and that programming and training of workforce. And so I think that, might be interesting in terms of how that fits and will go with, because we've got climate workforce education here. Because VSAC, and you had it, but it seemed maybe,
I can say that it's on this sheet, but H205 is the very last one, just say, House Agriculture Committee is working up and is gonna see what they can have a response to the small farm diversification. We put, you have a 350, we had 350. I think it came in at first it was 5, so we kind of trimmed it down and got it at 150. But I'm not 100% sure of the change in the language between what the House passed and what you have in the budget. But House Agriculture has looked at it and they're in the process of getting us a response.
Well, there's
You
some
grab-
language, part of the reason I will be really clear to you about part of the reason. We had to put together a box and we had to fit within a box of revenues that we had in the overall. And when the bill came over with nothing in it for, it put us in.
they used up quite a bit of the box I gave them.
That was 6.9 of the
Yes.
$10 million box we had. So we had very little, it's not that we don't have sympathy for that in all. But we had to accommodate they want that,
The dollars were not, I don't think, as much. I mean, they may, everybody wants more, but we'll add that, but the language, I think
and
they're.
part of the language
Bill's
was,
still here, right?
part of the
We have
language
it here,
is
right?
around, how the money
The-
gets
the
in and out.
diversification bill?
We
That's
want
what it says.
the money
It
is
says it's in appropriations here.
because, when we asked the question,
Referred here on April 19th. So
your bank committee could test
That has been talked about.
the agency.
No, I think we
about-
might have just plunked it in the budget.
Maybe that's what we.
so maybe that's why he's talking about the language of that. Okay.
I feel like it's gonna be
No,
done.
I think they're doing it.
So that's where we were,
Different. That was, I just wanted to put it on your radar that there's,
And while we're at the bottom, and this is still the workforce, and we've talked about not trying to do new programs, and I'm not unclear on those other two, the price insurance premiums and the pension.
oh, we've been
program
doing that
sounds
for a
like-
while. That price insurance and premiums
Yeah.
we've done previously.
How come it's not in the budget?
It's one time and it's been conventional farmers and it's to provide the risk protection when the cost of feed.
So we pay their insurance premiums?
We somehow
Yes.
subsidize
we
that
have since I've been on.
and it's been there a long time. And actually the return on it, it's very substantial.
We put a few $100s into insurance for each fund. And I think last year it was nearly $60,000 in insurance they got back. The payback has been huge for Vermont farmers. And it's all based on the cost of the price of production versus what the needs are.
Okay.
And part of the problem, part of the reason that we did organic farmers is because that overall plan didn't fit organic farmers like it did more.
They got left out.
Everybody
They
got something.
left out.
Got it.
And the feds are now working on the
In the new farm
language in the new farm bill that would include organic farmers. So this would be everybody, you know.
So in the future it might be better. But the fencing is a pilot program and that's something new. I think
And
we're
our
trying to.
house ag has taken testimony yesterday, I think it was on the fencing, I'm not too sure whether coming down or
I
over.
mean,
Yeah, I just,
I'll let them weigh in.
Okay. So we definitely. All right, that was all I had to say. on
What you're
those.
seeing here is how they kept within their box. And
your
when-
committees were a little more successful than some of mine.
Yeah. I don't think we gave.
Most of ours
this much.
Most of ours.
so the 6-9, kind of,
Yeah,
we
we
super
actually,
blocked.
we were okay with that the other day.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think,
And I would say that a number of the items that are in the 5 million that your ag committee supported of the initiatives that had come from the administration, slaughterhouses, help with particularly produce people and
Value-added product.
and value-added products, and a lot of them are really safety items to help the people in, with the produce area store their, with all good stuff. But when we hit the hole of 6.9, we had to.
So, we make it.
Sorry.
Nope, we all
I'm
have to know.
sorry.
So I don't, you're probably gonna have some feedback from your ag community, but we have a total of 10 now. Some of them are, some of them probably they're crossed over. So
I
that's
think the
why,
most important piece was, the organic piece that's been since day one that we've all been hearing about.
and that's why you had 5 million for 1101, the F, on the future of ag. We just,
Yeah,
if we do the organic farming, and we agree on that, and we continue what we've been doing for the risk protection for the conventionals, which is 415, you can see.
that's pretty good. They get 2.3 on the brand new.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, to,
Well,
I have a few in my community too, that when I go in sometimes, I make sure that I get invited to all.
and
which is
most of
good.
these are new programs that came out of but they do,
Yeah.
with the initiatives of the ag agency has done. And, I will tell you from my point of view, when I hear food safety and with our farmers markets and with our farm stands and all of that,
That brings up bad memories of uninspected chickens.
We don't like uninspected chickens.
Well, we passed a bill that said you can serve uninspected chickens as long as you note on the menu that they are uninspected chickens.
I remember that.
And yeah, and I
They don't
said,
come with that little sticker that you have to.
I haven't seen it on any menu, but
I have seen it on.
have you?
Have you? Yeah.
I just want you to know, I said, rather than having that chilling effect, perhaps we could just get a certificate that they know how to slaughter. And, but that amendment, honest to God, was everybody was going around with pink slips saying, what are you doing? What are you going? And it was, I think it, Sears and me and stuff, and I said, well, Dick and Jane got plucked on that one because we were just, it was like, I can't imagine anybody wanting to put on your menu, we serve uninspected chickens, but that's what you're supposed to do. I thought, can't you just give them a certification that they know how to slaughter and chill? And then not have to put that on the menu? I thought that was pretty, I thought it was not too,
For the risk takers, they go to this restaurant.
you know what? I lost on that one too, yeah. No, but I haven't forgotten.
We have a lot of chickens. We have a lot of chickens.
That is clear, Madam Chair.
Something tells me
And I haven't, somebody, you've seen a menu?
I did see one on a small restaurant. I think we should put slaughter and chill up on the.
I agree.
As our new vocabulary words for budgeting. So,
Okay,
as
now,
it's late, what else would you like to, is there?
Not on that page.
all right, and then you said on the workforce, you wanted to take a little.
We'll
more
get,
time.
yeah, we'll hand you something.
And we've kind of gone over the ag and that's pending.
Mhm.
So now we're, housing, I think we had said we're not holding. We can maybe go down to climate and environment.
There's a possibility, yes, there's some questions there on the yellow, which are.
I could explain that one.
Yeah, please.
Because I was like, wow, that did not seem consistent with.
The
Right.
ANR 3 million was for a program, they also got an 8.5 million, or maybe it was even 8.7. 8.5 million earmarked from Layton for that program. And then there's other money that's similar programs that weatherization is running, and EDT has the $35 million in weatherization, so it kind of overlaps a little bit with that. But we don't have anything for schools anywhere, and so there's a program that works specifically with schools on their heating system. So we thought instead of putting more money into the homes, that we would do the 2 million for the schools.
So that federal grant, that 8.5 does not include
It was your-
schools,
That was just for
it's
homes.
just homes.
And
What if you're homeschooled?
Yeah, well, in that case, it would be the school.
Okay, sorry.
And the reason for that is, we know that there was a push to have schools convert to biomass.
Mhm.
And we actually, in the capital bill and Senate, and what happened was a lot of them used systems that were manufactured in Vermont. The company went out of business, and many of them, my school in Danville was a number of years where it just was idle because it needed to be repaired. And now a number of them have been brought online. I think we probably did some subsidy to do that. And-
We had some
and-
federal money,
yeah.
and some ARPA money from.
Technology's gotten better
Yeah.
too.
And
Yeah.
so,
So
this
that 3
would,
million being replaced with earmark that's.
For the,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so we thought it was being replaced and then some. And,
Alright.
and that allowed us to see if we could bring more of those school units that we've invested in and we incented through the capital bill to bring them back into operation.
So
That's what.
this is
2 million.
not a new program, the
No.
Share program is not
No,
new, and do
It was
we,
funded with ARPA money.
oh, it was, and it was well received, I mean, do we need 2 million, is that the right number?
Yeah,
Is
they
that,
spent ARPA money. Well, the grants are all issued,
right,
so now they're just, those schools that got money, but they had more requests, and there's,
It could be more than 2
it
million.
was oversubscribed,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah, so this just helps get someone on the list that didn't get funded.
okay.
So
I think we're good.
You okay
I
with
think we're good, yeah.
fortunate, sometimes after you find out you do something, then you get notice of a federal grant, which kind of helps, and this was one. So if that's good, we can close that out. And so we're down to,
Emissions repair.
emissions repair.
I think we just did 3 years and you. I think that's.
Yeah. We funded the whole 3 years.
I'm a little familiar with. the
Yes, yeah,
program.
yeah.
Great
Should
idea, yeah.
Was
So I was like, has
difficult to
anybody
implement.
used it? Because it's been
No.
so
No,
hard.
well, they haven't actually started it yet.
And
So
No pun on started, but.
Yeah. the A&R was supposed to start it, they had trouble.
And they think they need 600,000 for 3 years? That's, okay, that gives me pause, only because it hasn't started yet, no one knows, it's gonna be a while, yeah.
It might not get used, because you remember when we started this one, they were having that, like when the tablet got started and had all these people that weren't able to get their car inspected, so.
Right, and that was where we were like, we don't want somebody finding out that they can't, for emissions, you've got up to $1,200 for the repair of that.
that's,
And then it became like, does any mechanic know to say that?
Right.
About the
So they haven't
program?
started it, so they don't.
Yep, advertisement.
And I think the incidence of people failing the emission test went way down once they got the bugs out of the
Okay. So can we just put the only reason I want to put a dot on that is to check in with the House Transportation Committee, because they've got the T-bill,
all right.
and that would fall into their, somewhat of their, somewhat of their circle.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it came out of
Well, that's-
transportation
Okay,
originally.
transportation, there you go.
But now this is moving it to DEC.
Right.
Right.
Where
I think we did that.
With
We
the
did that
T-bill
bill.
like 2 years.
We
3
moved
years
it.
ago.
So, its original discussion came out of that, how do we help with the inspection system, but this is now. And I thought there was testimony that they were now, that they had worked out a way
I think
to
they
actually
explained it.
implement the program.
Better.
But I don't think they actually,
No.
now they're like, okay, now we got.
Now we're ready to go.
So I'm just gonna be quick, because that was like a big jump, and that would have been a place where, because it's not even established, that if we need 100,000 to close out our day,
Yeah,
you know, that's,
good.
right,
That's a place.
And then,
You did, oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, we know about this.
Yeah,
You did ARPA, the extra ARPA from that one program that was canceled.
Right.
This is a navigator portal.
Right.
Healthy homes.
Yeah.
Yep. I think
and boy, they take up on that, has been.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go too with it, but I don't know if I should. Would that be fair?
Don't know. Not unless you're on the, well, your review panel, I prove it for myself.
It's unanimous.
So, on the next one,
Yeah, we did the, okay.
DEC, no,
And then we already did the foresters.
We did the foresters,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we
the
did the
treasure-
pensions,
We did the pensions.
and we're not ready
And
to
we're-
do the cash.
And we're not ready to do.
The contingent. Or didn't we
Yes,
get
we
new
did.
language? We got
Yeah.
language. for that.
We got the language for it, right? And
Yeah.
no, it's the Medicare.
Medicare Advantage got
That
the
was
language.
updated.
Right.
But
We're
we didn't
all
have
set
any
on the
changes
COLA.
on the COLA.
No, the one thing that we did, but it was in the yield bill, was the 9.1 to fund the reversion of the COLA calculation back to the pre-2016 methodology. And that was, we put that, you did not have it in your yield bill, we did, but we also,
And there's also recommendation on that one to actually formally write in the reserve in the ed fund, in a technical
Oh, is
letter.
that because it's, that's why it's in this column?
and then we did the one-time payment,
That's what's in this, what
Right.
you see here is the one-time payment.
which
Right.
was part of that,
The 9 is reserved and
in the,
Right,
The 3 is the one-time payment.
so
okay.
I think that's,
That's down
That's
to,
it.
and then it's just a matter of the contingent.
yeah, and
Things that
I-
we-
Well, and other things that we haven't agreed on.
Right. No, I meant,
I mean, like things we haven't agreed on, yeah.
Right.
And I know that there's been some discussion about whether we want to change the ordering.
yes,
It seems like, obviously, the,
the garage.
what we have on here is still achievable. We might want to change the order. Obviously, the April revenues, were a portent of what we think the future is going to be. And that's not
I-
rolling and go.
I'm really being as conservative as we can.
Yeah, so we
so
think
that we save this in money.
these are still sufficient.
So, well,
We may not
To fund them, but the order in which they're listed,
Well, and
Now, for
what's in
some-
there?
yeah.
well, I'll just be, the St. Albans garage made me laugh when I saw it because everyone no one, everyone agreed that it wasn't needed, and I didn't know how it got back on.
No, we
Because
had
even
no
the people
interest,
from
even
St.
from
Albans
people
were
from
like,
St.
nobody
Albans.
wants,
Nobody
nobody
needs
needs
it.
it.
Well, AOT wanted it and they came and we had,
They always like,
They're driving right through their town.
that they're like, this is, it's like 1-2 miles down the road, they're like, this isn't
well,
needed.
AOT came in, they had their own
Maybe
video,
AOT.
and they went to transportation. And so this was, something that came out as, in Senate transportation. Your transportation committee may have
Had a different idea, so they may talk about that.
Uh-huh.
The missing middle, we definitely, had,
You had that on your list, and so we just
Yeah.
made it sure that it was, in the form of an appropriation, the funds are there.
and the rail trail was something that we had, no, it's
No,
not
we
even for the
didn't.
rail trail,
No.
it's for the
It's for the
towns.
towns and they have Bernie
And
Sanders
they have
money
got a
for that, so.
earmark. They got a
need to.
2 million
allocate that.
earmark on that.
They got an earmark.
So they got two, that's what I've heard, they got a $2
And they have
million earmark from Bernie, but for the towns, so that's the reason why we were comfortable
I
and
need a
so.
little more,
You'll get
Some
some
need some more
information.
oomph, but, all right, and then,
Satiric.
Soteria House would be one that I would move above some of the other, but definitely above the garage. I better not go to St. Albans, I'm gonna break down there, I just know it.
You need to see their video.
I like St. Albans, we went there for the train, remember when the train left from there, it was really.
I
No, you
didn't
don't
take
do
that. I left the maiden voyage, of the Amtrak this summer.
Yeah, that was.
So,
That was fun.
Yeah.
All right,
so
I
they
went
finished-
I went to New York from Virginia's.
yes.
I did it from Middlebury.
I
The
did it from
numbers are
Virginia.
off the charts.
I think there was a dozen people that got on the train in Virginia.
So now the Addison County Chamber of Commerce has moved into the train station.
Oh, that's,
So that's good. So now,
that's a
that's
beautiful.
a very
little
nice
station.
little spot and just know that the doors are open.
That's where I had to get off.
There's a good spot.
It's great parking there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that's why I think
It's
it's.
so popular, because it's free parking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Without-
same in Middlebury, I used to drive 3 miles to the train station. Whoever drives 3 miles to
Yeah.
public transportation.
And free parking.
And free
We went-
parking.
We went during
As long as you want.
town meeting break, we went down, did a couple of shows, it was,
It's great.
it was great.
And you're right
Train for
downtown,
hours and-
right?
Yeah.
Right downtown, now if I can
Train station.
just get a sidewalk from there. I just get a,
Or you
won't
need
go
to-
there,
Well,
but
in Vir- downtown.
down from Virginia.
Virginia. Sorry, yeah, downtown New
She was
York.
talking about downtown New York City, yeah. I think they have sidewalks
They
in
do have
downtown
sidewalks.
New York City.
There's a,
I remember trying to get back years
Roger,
ago,
yeah.
where I ended up in Port Authority at midnight. I'm a single college student. I don't know, I think about, all these kids that are so sheltered and sort of like get on the train and go. And
snow phone.
I ended up going to get a train out of Penn Station, and at that point it had been demolished, remember they had, and it was down in that sort of basement, and I met this guy Clarence, who was in the military.
Was there angel wings involved?
And he was going back to Letterkenny, military, and, you know what I'm talking about?
Central Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I don't know why, I'm thinking about Penn Station and Clarence, and I was like all of 19 probably when that, and anyway, he thought he needed to sort of take
Take you
a
under his
single
wing.
young college student, right, that I probably shouldn't be out hanging around Penn Station at midnight. Anyway, the train is wonderful because it takes you right down into,
Yeah.
No parking.
and you don't have to, you're right there and
It's got a nice thing, is you park for free and.
I know.
And you
And-
go.
And
you go,
Middlebury, yeah.
and it's like,
The
So
Dartmouth coach
here's a
is really
piece-
good too,
I
right to
take
downtown.
that all the time.
Yeah.
The gentleman that was hired that lives in Virginia to open the operated by Amtrak, she had to be there an hour before, an hour after. His mom was Barbara Grimes.
I remember Barbara.
Yes, and that is the gentleman that's opening and closing now the train station, that was a piece of information of. So the Boston Globe yesterday ran a story on Virginia's. And I was thrilled, my daughter's 2 restaurants are in there almost.
Oh, what about Matt's?
Yes, and his too, and
I
it's a
stopped in
really good.
Matt's and He gave me a care package to go on the train.
Okay.
He could start in, he's clever.
You can see our attention span.
Yeah.
Right.
I got one more.
When you bring us back to,
So I got one more
attachment.
section, one more line
Oh,
in your
oh,
tracking that you could close.
What is that?
Well, it's on the page 4 and it's the deaf blind language that the Senate struck and the House had in, but is now in the auditory compact bill as it's passed out of the Senate Appropriations Committee.
We-
Oh, it's on the struck language?
Yeah.
Because we said that is just technical cleanup to use the right terminology. And we didn't want to use the budget as a vehicle to do that.
Yeah.
And so what you had in the budget is now in the H86. And that was the, for the deaf blind. et
Oh, yes,
cetera.
here it
Yeah.
is.
So it's there, it just is going
Okay,
The
sorry,
audio.
page 20.
Um,
Yeah.
compact, so we did that.
86.
86, right up on our whiteboard.
Okay.
It's our screen.
Yeah.
Your smart board?
Our
Yeah,
smart
smart
board. And Andrea does it in the smart board.
And she's very smart.
I know she is.
Okay, so,
Okay.
just, we didn't forget it.
We didn't know,
We almost forgot it until Ledge Council said, well, we have an amendment here.
Okay, oh, that's great. I'm glad to know it's taken care of somewhere. We were wondering.
The department will be happy, because they're the ones who put it in the budget,
Who did?
the department.
Oh, so the other thing that you have mentioned is a very voluminous addition on apprenticeship. Is that what it is?
We are hearing this from both my ears and your ears, I believe are hearing this in H452.
It's in the Senate, I believe.
Is it in the Senate? So it's somewhere. I know that Chair of
Senator
House.
Carson came in and said there's a need to put it in because we're out of compliance and the federal government needs it.
Okay,
And,
she pleaded her case then.
well, I didn't know how large it was, but somebody said it's 21
It's
pages.
52 pages.
Oh, 52
Or maybe
pages?
she's been- So,
Maybe that's double spaced.
Oh, what is it?
It's in the House.
Oh, it's still in the
Pass
house?
it
The rule suspended and message sent forthwith and sent.
Yeah, so.
Oh, so
No,
we
it's
just.
Now
the
it's
session.
in
we say
Oh,
forthwith. So we'll entertain that thought to be expanded.
Oh my God, this bill's gonna be 250 pages.
It's gonna be 300.
Oh, 300.
We can take that, so, yeah.
We're shooting for, the all-time largest
Largest.
ever. Both numbers and
So-
page.
I guess, is that it in terms of everything we've talked about?
Sarah, did you have some?
We just have some good news maybe to share.
Oh my goodness, that's a nice way to
We
be.
like that.
Yeah. We heard from the treasurer's office today and they have updated projections for unclaimed property. And there's an additional 2.2 million available in FY '23. And I think it's 1.4 million in FY '24. So
Oh,
Excellent.
well, that will help us agonize with some of the things we put on hold.
So can you just say the numbers again?
2.2 million in 23.
2.2 in '23 and almost 1.5 in '24.
So that goes into that. Madam Chair, there's a thing I need to do after we leave here today, because there's a variety of bills that, similar check as you have done, that they come with an appropriation after the budget had left. That I said, take the money out. If it's in the budget, you may go forward. If it's in the budget, I need to go make that list of
All right.
what they are to
Yeah.
not forget them.
Right. We got
Or if I
another
want to
today.
forget them, it needs to be done
And the other,
by purpose.
is what we need to do. That helps also with that crosswalk on housing. And that's 100.
Yes.
Yes, I've got to bring that to
We
the
had a
floor.
22-page amendment.
Because some of that is, we had stripped it out of S100, but it's, we put quite a bit in the budget. There are a couple of things, for example, like home share.
Yeah.
Did not.
Didn't make it
It didn't, we really think that that's important.
important, and then we heard, I don't know, there's a thing on evictions and, but, yeah.
So,
Put that in the.
well, thank you for that good news. Now everybody's gonna go out and plot to how to spend it, but let me tell you, we already know how we need to.
Oh, yeah.
Who's gonna help us.
We already have a $400 million list.
Well, actually, what it does is help us deal with some of the things that are coming in, you know, as a last minute. Okay.
Yes, and that was real cool. Well, we'll be, so this is our last weekend alone with our budgets, right? And then we'll come back on, what time do we want to meet on Monday?
You guys are on the floor at 10.
You're on the floor at 10 on Monday,
Yeah, what time are you going on? the floor?
not till 1, so, but we'll be
We'll
here.
be here to work, but yeah.
Want to shoot for 8:30?
Yeah, and why don't we try?
Okay.
Wait, you want, no, I can't, I'm already booked for 8:30.
Okay, not bad.
All right, we'll have to go
We'll be
for
here
9 again.
exchanging things.
9?
Yeah.
9 again.
Okay, 9?
Yeah, let's do 9.
And just-
I'll do 9 to 10, and then
This is the
sometime in the
annual report for the Vermont Network. It is the organization.
Okay, so we would do 9 to 10, and then again in the afternoon, like that?
I do have some. Yeah,
That's
Monday night.
That's what the-
Monday night will be our.
Oh,
okay.
so I know them very well. I
Tuesday,
did,
yeah,
board consulting for every
You guys
single one of
can
them,
see
plus
us.
the umbrella.
I don't-
association
well,
for many years, so I know.
We're starting at 1, but I
I thought it
promised
was-
that I would do the amendment for edits.
Yeah, I thought it was
100 because we're taking out.
They run the program.
So, why don't we go 9 o'clock then Monday, and then we'll take it from there. And
Come back when we, or maybe I can ask the assessment 100 is gonna be.
so, and then,
So we're gonna do
9 and then
9, and then you and I have
Yeah.
got these bills to do on the floor.
at 1.
You have to play it by ear when you get
you're
on.
on.
We'll find out what the calendar says for us. We can request to be
Yeah.
certain plus places, so we can have the order of.
I expect we'll be on the floor.
They can just call me and I go.
That's
You're gonna have a
right.
law enforcement.
I think so. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of bills, so
I think we may too.
So why don't we try to, if we can, and you can get off, try at 1.
Yeah.
And then, because I'd like to set our drop dead date no later than noon on Tuesday, because that helps
Yeah.
staff get the documents all ready. And so, usually when people know, have a deadline.
Yeah.
It works, and
We'll go lock the door on the other building in our.
that's great. So what I'm gonna do is adjourn the committee for today, and we'll reconvene Monday at